We needed the money more than you needed the dress, my sister said, calm, unapologetic. As if that made it okay. She'd sold my wedding dress, one day before the wedding. Gone. So she and her boyfriend could sip cocktails on some luxury getaway. But what she didn't know, what none of us knew yet, was that everything was about to change. That dress was the most beautiful thing I had ever owned. Every time I looked at it, my heart lifted, like something magical had been stitched into its seams. It wasn't just lace and silk. It was proof. Proof that I'd finally done something just for me. I was never one to splurge. Every cent I made went toward bills, my sister's tuition, groceries, rent. I was the responsible one, practical to a fault. But that dress, that was different. That was me choosing joy. Just once. And tomorrow I was going to wear it. My wedding day. I could hardly believe it. Me, getting married. The girl who spent most of her 20s juggling 2 jobs and burying her dreams beneath everyone else's needs. Yet somehow, through all that chaos, I'd found him. A man who didn't just love me, but saw me. Every messy, tired, selfless part of me. He never asked me to shrink. Never made me feel like I had to earn space. Tomorrow, when I walked down that aisle, I wanted to feel like a bride, not a caretaker, not a background character in someone else's story. Just me, glowing, whole. I pictured it again, the delicate embroidery, how the fabric shimmered like starlight. I smiled, heart fluttering, and turned to the closet for one last look. I'd checked on it 100 times this week, always half afraid it might vanish. Silly, right? I opened the door, and my smile collapsed. The hanger was empty. I stared, frozen, mind blank, body numb. I pushed the other hangers aside, knelt, searched the closet floor. Nothing. Maybe I moved it, maybe it fell. But I already knew. Panic burst through me like a fire alarm. I searched everything, closets, laundry baskets, even the damn kitchen, like maybe I was sleepwalking, and stashed it with the cereal. But the truth had already started tightening in my chest. This wasn't a mistake. With trembling hands, I grabbed my phone, scrolled to her name. Lisa, I called. And what happened next cracked the foundation of our lives. Lisa had always been the favorite. Not in words, our parents were too careful for that. But the signs were everywhere, like when I had to hand over my birthday toys because, "You're the big sister. Be nice." Or when she screamed in the grocery store and walked out with a toy, while I was told, "We can't afford that, Joanna. Don't be selfish." Lisa wanted. Lisa got. It wasn't just about things. It was attention too. She was loud and luminous, all bright smiles and dramatic tears. She demanded the room and she got it. I didn't. I was the quiet one, the easy one, the one who didn't make waves. If something upset me, I handled it. Alone. And they praised that. "Joanna, you're so mature for your age." "You don't need help, do you?" "Lisa just needs a little extra attention right now." Always right now. I used to wonder, when would my right now come? It never did. When Lisa started struggling in school, everything shifted to her orbit. She needed tutors, meetings, reminders, support. And my parents gave it, without question, without end. I was the straight A kid, the quiet achiever. I did my homework without being asked, kept my head down, never made a fuss. And slowly, almost invisibly, my parents stopped noticing me. I'd bring home test papers with perfect scores, and they'd barely look up. Lisa, on the other hand, landed a B+ on a math quiz, and it was like she'd conquered the world. I said nothing. What could I say? I learned to expect less, to need less. Then came college. I'd always known I wasn't going. We didn't have the money, and no one had ever even hinted they were saving for me. So I didn't ask. I didn't hope. I graduated high school and got a job instead. That was the unspoken plan. That was my role. Until one day, 2 years later, I overheard them talking. I just walked into the kitchen. My mom was at the table, flipping through glossy college brochures. "We need to start looking for apartments near campus," she said to my dad. "Lisa's going to need a nice place to live." I stood there in the doorway, frozen. They hadn't saved for me, hadn't even thought about it. But Lisa had a full roadmap. Tuition, rent, a new life in another state. When they saw me, my mom smiled like nothing was wrong. "Joanna, can you help Lisa pick out furniture for her dorm?" You're so practical. You'll know what's worth buying. As if I were the hired help. As if my only purpose was to support her dreams. I didn't argue, didn't speak, just nodded, the way I always had. Because Lisa deserved a future. I was just the one who made it possible. The next few years blurred together, work and payments, non-stop. Lisa lived like a typical college student. Parties, classes, spring breaks. I worked double shifts, sometimes triple, covered her rent, wired her grocery money, handled last-minute emergencies. Our parents helped when they could, but mostly they smiled and said, "You're doing so well for yourself, Joanna. You don't need our help." Because that was the unspoken rule. Lisa needed. I provided. And when Lisa started asking for more, money for concert tickets, weekend getaways, spring break flights, I gave it because I loved her. Because she was my baby sister. Because no one else would. Until one night, everything changed. Lisa called me, voice tight with urgency. "Joe, I need to borrow some money." I was bone-tired from a double shift, but I asked anyway, "What for?" She hesitated, then whispered, "A trip. With my boyfriend. Things have been rough. And if we don't do this, I think he might leave me." The way she said it made something twist inside me. Lisa never begged. And I knew her boyfriend, controlling, moody, unreliable. But still, she was my sister. So I asked, "How much?" She told me. And for the first time in my life, I said no. She didn't take it well. She cried, pleaded. "Please, Joe, you always help me. Why is this different?" And I wanted to. God, I wanted to, but I couldn't. So I said I was sorry. I told her no. She went quiet. Then she said one word, soft, stunned. "Oh." Like it had just dawned on her that the well could dry up, that I wasn't hers to drain forever. The call ended. I sat there, staring at my phone, my heart pounding, wondering if I had just destroyed everything. But I had no idea what was really coming. Because the real betrayal hadn't happened yet. The night before my wedding, I still believed Lisa was my maid of honor. She was staying with me, helping with all the last-minute chaos, laying out my shoes, steaming my veil, checking the checklist twice. She even sat behind me on the bed and gently braided my hair, both of us laughing at old stories. "You're getting married," she whispered, almost like she didn't believe it herself. Neither did I. I smiled, feeling this soft, swelling warmth, hopeful, excited, maybe even a little naive. Despite everything, despite Lisa's endless selfishness, her recent sourness over money, I still wanted her by my side. Because she was my sister, and because I loved her. The next morning, she was up early. I was still half asleep when she leaned over and kissed my cheek. "Running errands," she murmured. "Just a few things to take care of before the wedding." I barely registered it. "Okay," I mumbled, rolling over. I should have known. By the time I finally got up, nerves were already coiled tight in my stomach. I hadn't slept much. This was it, my wedding day. I made coffee, took a long, steadying shower, and walked to my closet with a deep breath. I just wanted one last look at the dress, my dress, before everything began. I opened the door, and my heart stopped. The hanger was empty. I stared, unblinking, my brain locked in denial. No, it had to be here. I yanked the door wider, shoved hangers aside, dropped to my knees, and felt along the floor like it might be hiding. But it wasn't. My breath hitched, my hands started to tremble. I tore through my bedroom, closets, drawers, under the bed. Nothing. I checked the hallway, the laundry basket, the suitcase packed for the honeymoon, even though I already knew, it was gone. Panic clawed up my throat. I grabbed my phone with shaking fingers and called her. She picked up on the first ring. "Hey Joe, I'm almost back." "Lisa," I cut her off, my voice too calm. "Where is my dress?" There was a pause, then a laugh. "Oh my God, you scared me. I thought something was actually wrong." I closed my eyes, gritting my teeth. "Lisa, the dress is missing. Where is it?" "I don't know. Did you check the laundry room?" Her tone was light, dismissive. "Maybe someone moved it? Emily was over yesterday." And that's when I felt it, that cold twist deep in my gut, that sick, certain knowing. She was lying. Lisa walked through the door an hour later like nothing had happened, smiling, relaxed. But when she saw my face, her smile faltered. I was standing still, waiting. "Lisa," I said, "tell me the truth." She hesitated, then let out a long sigh, like I was the one being unreasonable, rolled her eyes. "Okay, fine." And then she said it. "We needed the dress." I couldn't speak, couldn't move. She crossed her arms, completely unapologetic. "Look, Joe, you're marrying the love of your life. He's not going to leave you over a dress." My fist clenched. "You sold it." She nodded like it made perfect sense. "Actually, I found a buyer weeks ago. Remember when you posted that picture? Someone messaged me asking if it was for sale. I said yes. They sent the deposit right away." The air left my lungs. Weeks. She had planned this for weeks. "And you didn't think to tell me," when she scoffed. "Joanna, I told you, I needed that trip. My relationship is falling apart. You already have everything. I needed this more than you did." Something in me shattered. I had given Lisa everything, my time, my money, my future. And she took the one thing that was mine. I drew a breath, slow, steady, and looked her in the eyes. "You're no longer my maid of honor." Her face twisted in confusion. "What?" "Get out," I said. My voice was shaking, but I meant every word. "You're banned from my wedding." Her mouth fell open. "Joanna, get out." I didn't yell, I didn't scream, but something in my face made her step back. And for the first time, Lisa realized. She had gone too far, and she panicked. "Come on, don't be like this," she pleaded. "It's just a dress." But I wasn't listening anymore. I was done. She left, and the moment the door closed behind her, I broke. Everything I'd been holding together unraveled. I cried until I couldn't breathe. Emily stepped in as my maid of honor. Last minute, no questions asked. I found a replacement dress, rushed and off the rack. It didn't fit quite right. It didn't feel like mine. There wasn't time for alterations. I looked in the mirror and saw a stranger in white, but the wedding went on. And just as I began walking down the aisle, heart pounding, guests rising, Lisa tried to force her way in. I had told security, I had made it clear, but she caused a scene anyway. Voices rose, heads turned. The ceremony teetered on the edge of chaos. I looked at her, at this person I used to love, and realized if I kept fighting, she would ruin it all. So I let her in, as a guest, not my maid of honor, not my sister, just someone occupying a seat at a wedding she didn't deserve to be at. And as I stood at the altar, smiling for the cameras, I thought, she thinks she won. She has no idea what's coming. I didn't yell, didn't scream, didn't tell her how deeply I hated her in that moment. I just smiled, let her sip champagne, laugh with old friends, pose for photos like nothing had happened, like she hadn't burned everything down the day before. She believed she got away with it, but Lisa didn't know me, not really, because I wasn't going to fight her. I was going to let her unravel. 1 week later, she left for her trip, flaunting stolen joy across Instagram, laughing on boats, posing in bikinis, clinking cocktail glasses with her boyfriend. No guilt, no shame, just Lisa living it up. I saved every photo, not because I cared, but because someday I wanted her to look back on them, blissfully unaware of what was waiting for her when she came home. It started small, her phone bill, something she never thought about because I always handled it. "Hey, my phone bill's due. Can you send the payment?" she texted. I stared at the message, then set my phone down. No response, no payment. A few days later, "Joe, I think my service got cut off. Did you forget to pay?" I smiled to myself. Oh, Lisa, you have no idea. Next came rent. She had 1 more week. I said nothing, let the silence stretch and wait for her to feel the shift. Then late one night, the call came. Her voice was tight with nerves. "My landlord just messaged me about rent. I think the auto pay didn't go through." I didn't rush to answer. Then cool and steady, I said, "I'm not paying for it." Silence. "What?" she asked, like she'd misheard. "I'm not paying," I repeated. "Not anymore." She laughed, light, nervous. "Okay, very funny, but seriously, can you fix it? I don't have enough in my account." I didn't say a word, and in that silence, she felt it. The shift. Wait, Joe, what do you mean not anymore? I leaned back, the weight of years lifting off my shoulders. I mean, I'm done, Lisa. I'm done paying your rent, your bills, your vacations, your tuition. Silence again, but this time it wasn't confusion. It was fear. Wait, Joe, you're mad, I get it, but you can't just… Yes, I said, I can. Her breath hitched. But I have one more year of college. You said you'd cover it. I was going to, I said, before you sold my wedding dress. I could almost hear her brain scrambling, desperate, stunned. I had never done this before, never denied her, never let her fall. Joe, please? She whispered, voice cracking. I hung up. The real panic didn't set in until 2 weeks later. She came home from her sun-soaked getaway and finally saw the wreckage she'd left behind. Her phone, still disconnected. Her landlord, threatening eviction. Her tuition, unpaid. 1 semester left, and the deadline loomed like a guillotine. And for the first time in her life, there was no safety net. No one rushing in to clean up the mess. That's when the calls changed. No more casual check-ins. Just pleading, sobbing voicemails, crying texts at all hours. Joe, please call me back. I'm serious, I don't know what to do. I'll pay you back, I swear. I just need help right now. Joanna, please, I'm your sister. No, she wasn't. She was just a girl who had spent her life using me. Now, she was just a girl, paying the price. The final call came at 2 a.m. Groggy, I fumbled for my phone, ready to decline. But something in me paused. I answered. Lisa was hysterical. Joe, they're kicking me out, she sobbed. I don't have anywhere to go. I sat up in bed. My voice was cold. Not my problem. Her breath hitched. Joe, please, I'll pay you back. I'll do anything. You mean like how you paid me back for my wedding dress? Silence, then a broken whisper. I didn't think you'd actually do this to me. I closed my eyes. I didn't think you'd sell my dress, I said. And yet, here we are. More crying, more begging. I had never heard her like this before. Shattered, desperate, completely undone. Almost felt bad. Almost. But then I thought about the years I'd lost. The money, the dreams, the way she'd smiled at me while stealing from me. Acting like none of it mattered. She didn't love me. She loved what I gave her. And now she had nothing. I took a slow, steady breath. For the first time in my life, Lisa, I'm saying no. Then I hung up. I didn't check my phone the next morning. Didn't open her texts. Didn't wonder what came next. Because for the first time, my money was mine. My time was mine. My life was mine. As for Lisa, I don't know what happened. I don't know where she went or how she tried to claw her way out. But I do know one thing. She will never take from me again. It didn't take long. Lisa ran straight to our parents, crying, wailing, telling them I'd cut her off, that I'd left her with nothing, that I'd abandoned her in her time of need. And of course, they believed her. Or maybe they just wanted to. They called me one after the other. First my mom. Joanna, I don't know what's gotten into you. This is not how we raised you. Then my dad. She's your sister. Family helps each other. She was counting on you. Then came the guilt. She's going to be homeless. You're okay with that? She'll have to drop out of college. Do you really want to ruin her future? I let them talk. Let them shame me, guilt me, try to squeeze me back into the quiet, selfless role I'd played my whole life. Then, when they finally stopped, I asked one simple question. Did she tell you why I stopped? Silence, and then my mom sighed, tired, disappointed, like I was the difficult one. Joanna, it was just a dress. Just a dress, my wedding dress, the only thing I ever bought for me. The one moment I tried to have for myself. And to them, it was nothing. I exhaled, calm, steady. Then I told them everything. Every sacrifice. Every paycheck that went to her tuition, her rent, her food. Every dream I shelved. Every part of me I buried to keep her afloat. I told them in full, and when I was done, I said this. I wasn't her sister. I was her bank account. And now, I'm done. They didn't take it well. They argued, accused, called me selfish, cruel, unforgiving. But I'd made my choice. I hung up and I stopped answering. Every call, every message, I ignored them all. Lisa thought she could make it without me. Thought she could stretch the savings from the dress and figure things out on her own. For a little while, she kept up the illusion, kept pretending everything was fine. Then the cracks widened. Her final year's tuition still unpaid. Her phone still cut off. Her rent weeks overdue. She was sinking, slowly, surely. And then, just when things couldn't get worse, he left her. Bez. Of course he did. He never loved her, just what she could give. And now, there was nothing left, so he walked away. And Lisa? Lisa had never worked a day in her life. No experience, no resume, no clue how hard it was to survive. But she had no choice. She got a part-time job at a coffee shop. It barely covered rent. She was exhausted, constantly behind. Juggling school and work broke her down fast. She failed every exam, lost the job, got evicted, and ended up back where she started, living with our parents. They blamed me. You ruined your sister's life, Joanna. If you had just helped her, none of this would have happened. Do you even care about family anymore? I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. 1 year later, a full year. No contact with Lisa, none with my parents either. And my life? It was finally mine. I had my own money. I quit my second job. I traveled, bought things just for me. I was happily married, pregnant. Everything I had worked for, I was living it. No guilt, no weight on my shoulders, just peace. And then, one day, Lisa texted, "Hey, I know we haven't talked in a while, but can we get coffee?" I stared at it for a long time, no clue what she wanted. But after a few minutes, I replied, "Okay." We met at a quiet cafe near my house. She looked different, tired, older somehow. We sat, ordered drinks, and then softly, unexpectedly, she said, "I get it now." I blinked. What? She looked down, uneasy. I didn't understand before how hard it is, how exhausting it is to work, to pay for everything, to feel like you're always behind. She laughed hollow. "I thought you did it because you wanted to. I didn't realize how much you were giving up." Her voice cracked. "I was awful to you." I said nothing, just listened. "I'm not asking for anything," she continued. "I don't want money. I don't expect anything from you. I just miss you. I know I don't deserve another chance, but I want to try." I exhaled. A year ago, I dreamed of hearing those words. Now, I didn't know what to believe. I looked at her, really looked at her. She had been through hell, a hell of her own making. And maybe she had changed, but I would never forget, never go back. Still, I finally spoke. "I don't know if I can forgive you, but I'm willing to try." Her eyes filled with tears. "That's all I'm asking." We talked for an hour, about nothing important, and for once, she didn't ask for anything. When we left, I gave her a small smile. Not because everything was okay, but because maybe it could be.